And the result is that an assisted dying law is almost certain to come into force in England and Wales in the coming years.
It took me a long time to realise what I'm doing here on YouTube. Or rather, what it is that people get out of watching my videos, because I started making YouTube videos because I saw other people doing it, and it seemed like that was something that I could do, that I would be good at, that I would like, but I never really quite understood exactly what it was that, you know, why do you care what I think? Right? Like, you have eyes, you can see the world, and you have your own opinions. And I think what it is that I have maybe a higher than average ability to notice things that other people haven't noticed yet, or to notice things that other people notice, but to put it in words that help you, the viewer, to understand what you have also seen. And I'm not extremely special in that regard. I'm not trying to, you know, build myself up, but I think that's a skill that people on YouTube have that other people value. It's just putting their observations, their opinions into words that, because when you explain something in words, it really gives shape to thoughts and it makes them much more solid. You can kind of grab onto these thoughts and it makes it more obvious in your mind. And that's what I think I do for people. And I'm not the best at doing it, which is why I'm not the biggest channel, but if you're here watching this, you must find some value in what I'm saying. And it's not because you always agree with me, or because because I tell you what to think. I think it's just that I'm like helping you think. And there's also people on YouTube who help me think as well. But something that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, which just sort of crystallized in my mind recently, like lots of observations that I've been making about the world over the last few years, it's like they all fit together as a jigsaw piece, and it all just made sense all at once. And I can see it so much more clearly than, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with the future of immigration or feminism or this other stuff that I like to talk about. I don't know what's going to happen with the economy or with birth rates or, you know, anything, or social media. You know, that's all. I can think about those things and I can see what's happening now, but I really don't have a firm idea of what's going to happen. But when I started thinking about the assisted dying bill that went through the UK Parliament recently, and that is like the last little piece that fit in this big jigsaw puzzle of things I've been thinking about: the economy, feminism, like social media, birth rates. It all fits together. And what is going to happen in the future, I believe, is that this assisted dying is going to, you know, it's just a slippery slope, right? I'm not trying to catastrophize or say like, oh, they're going to be killing everyone over the age of 60.
There are lots of people watching this who really are terrified that this will be a slippery slope to some people feeling obliged to end their lives.
I view it as a door that's opening options for people. We only have to look at what's happened in places like New Zealand and Australia. They passed the law. All the concerns that we've heard here were debated there. The laws have been put in place, and now they've been successfully implemented, and to all intents and purposes, they are working successfully and, most importantly, safely.
I'm not trying to fearmonger about this. I'm just describing what I think is going to happen, and, you know, prolonged the lives of people. We've had these amazing medical advances that mean that we can keep people alive, you know, well into their old age, and that's a really good thing that we should celebrate. And that's one of the undeniable benefits of living in a modern, you know, first world wealthy country, is that you no longer have to die from you know, curable diseases, and many people even survive cancer and live into old age. What I see around me is not a massive increase in productivity and innovation that we've seen in previous decades that made first world countries extremely wealthy. But the backswing of that is that we have a large elderly population, and that's a great thing because it means that people aren't dying young. But what's happening with the economy is that this is a massive economic boom that we've been experiencing. We're on the downswing of that bubble, and I'm not predicting economic catastrophe or anything like that, but we simply don't have the resources. The government doesn't have the money, and people certainly don't have the money to continue supporting the elderly into old age. And as we're seeing with the birth rate, we're going to just have fewer and fewer people who are of working age, who are paying taxes into the system, and who are themselves supporting their own grandparents and their parents. Instead of, let's say, 4 grandparents having 4 grandchildren, what we're seeing now is a slow decline in birth rates, where now there might be 4 grandparents and there might be 1 grandchild between them. Economist Bryan Caplan has observed that the greatest indicator that you as a person, if you survive into your old age, if you want to know if you're going to be cared for in your home, or if you're going to be cared for by strangers in a care home, the best way of predicting that is how many daughters you have. And if you have 2 or more daughters, then there's a pretty good chance that one of them will, or both of them, or some of them working together, will be able to care for you into old age. And the sons do it as well, but it's just that daughters are more likely to do it. And having more daughters is a predictor of having personalised at-home care into your old age. And the birth rate is, obviously not supplying most people with 2 or more daughters. Up until now, the NHS and government pensions and the state has been able to care for the elderly because we have so many people who are working, who are paying in their taxes into the system. But that's just not going to be the case in 50 years or so. And unless we somehow do something, unless the government does something, they're just not going to be able to afford to keep elderly people alive. The standard of care for the elderly, it's not great now. To be frank, a lot of care homes they're not clean, they're not like places that you would want to spend time in. The quality of care is not good as it is, and that's in a relatively strong economy that we have now, and it's not going to get better. If they can automate care a little bit with robotic systems or AI or whatever, somehow they might be able to use technology to facilitate the care of elderly a bit. But really, do you want to be taken care of by robots and only see a human face a few times a day? Most people would consider that a big step down in their quality of life. And immigration, similarly, is no longer a solution to this problem. The people are not happy with the number of immigrants who are coming in and working in the care sector. And I hope this doesn't come across as me sounding like I want this to happen. I think that we're just not going to have a choice in the future. It's going to have to happen. Most people, in fact, who are alive today, what they value is fun experiences. They value intelligence, beauty. These are things that they aspire to in their own lives. They want to be more beautiful, they want to have fun experiences, they want to eat good food and go nice places. There's not really a value these days on religion. I mean, people say that there's an uptick in Generation Z going to church, but I don't know how true that is. But people don't have that same deep religious instinct for valuing life, human life, for the sake of it. And our generation, does not want to get old. We are terrified of being old, of relying on other people, of losing our wits, being isolated, living our lives all day in a care home is not an idea that most people will look forward to, right? To say the least. I think this is something that people who are my age, or around my age or younger, would literally rather be dead And because of this sentiment, this assisted dying, the law around it, it's just going to make these small little steps gradually, and for the next 50 years, maybe 100 years. And the reason that we haven't talked about it more, we haven't been paying attention to it, is I think because of all these other social changes that are going on, getting all upset about this transgender social changes and changes to heterosexual relationships, feminism. These things are all really fun to talk about for YouTubers and podcasters, but this stuff about people dying, the elderly voluntarily dying, it's really not fun to talk about for anyone. It's not really political in the sense that it's not partisan, right? There's not like a left wing and a right wing to this argument. If we could fast forward 100 years and look at what is going on now, I think the biggest political change, or the biggest change to the law and social attitudes that we can note between now and 100 years from now, is going to be the onset of assisted dying. All this stuff about gay people, trans people, feminism is a pretty big deal actually, but everything that we're talking about now, not the things that have already happened with feminism and everything, but the things that we are arguing about now, Sydney Sweeney and her genes and immigration, I think that's all just going to be a blip, something that happened in the past. But this dying thing, the way that we view the lives of elderly people, I think is going to change, and it's never going to go back to the way it was before, unless there's a massive societal collapse and we no longer have the medical technology that is keeping people alive, that's actually curing their fatal diseases. Barring a complete civilizational collapse, I think this is one change that we're going to see, that it's just going to it's not like a fad, it's not going away, it's going to change, and it's going to change forever. And what I think is interesting and sort of creepy to think about is people in 100 years who look back at our time are going to think it's ridiculous that we ever had these moral hang-ups about the elderly committing suicide. They're going to think it's silly that we were so worried about it, that we cared about keeping people alive just for silly religious reasons. They're going to think that we were extremely superstitious, we were very religiously backwards for keeping these people alive. But maybe I have really no reason to be this confident about this. I don't know why. I usually am very hesitant about making predictions about the future, but like I said at the start of the video, this is something that stands out to me. Once I saw it, it just looked obvious to me. So if you think, after that explanation, if I've convinced you, then I'm sorry. I know it's not good news, but if you think if you think I've lost my mind, if you think I've got no reason to be this confident about my predictions, then please let me know. I'd love to be wrong on this, to be honest. Maybe there will be an economic boom, and AI is going to create such a wealthy society that we'll be able to afford whatever care that we want for people, and we'll just there'll be such little work to do for humans that the only jobs that there will be to do will be caring for the elderly. So maybe that will be a booming industry, is that the young people would just spend all their time caring for the elderly as their jobs, or they'll have no job at all and play video games all day. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.